Hey you guys, it's Dr. Letitia Wright. Welcome to the Facebook Live. Thanks for hanging with me. All of you replay viewers, I really appreciate you tuning in and hanging with me for my Facebook Lives. I promise I'm going to be much more consistent. Thank you for hanging in here. And I've got some things that I want you to post. So even if you're a replay viewer and you're watching this after the fact, go ahead and post your media. We're talking about content today. I want to talk about what content means to you. What are you doing for content? And so for those of you that are doing content, you're doing Facebook Live. Maybe you're doing Periscope. Maybe you're doing, I don't know, anything, YouTube Live. Maybe you're doing audio. Some of you are doing Anchor and Hear Me Out. You might be experimenting with all kinds of things. I want you to take some time as a replay viewer to make sure you post your content so we can find it out. Are you writing on Medium? Are you writing long form on Facebook? We're going to talk about all of that. So welcome. Say hi, and also to share this out. Hey, Patricia, thank you so much for Wiggins for getting in there. Forrest White, thank you for hanging in there. Hey, share this out. There's a little person down there with a plus by his head, and I would really appreciate you sharing it out and giving me some thumbs up. That's the lifeblood of what happens here, and I just want you to know, share it with somebody who needs to work on their content. Share it with somebody who needs some help on their content. You saw their content and you're like, hey, let's tighten that up a little bit. So they always say content is king. Hey, let's see. I'm trying to read this so far away. It is Francian. It's not Francina. It's Francian Chatsworth. So thank you for hanging in there. Richardson. That's how you say your last name. I know how to say your last name. So thank you so much for hanging in. Give me some thumbs up if you can hear me. If the audio is loud enough, there you go. If the audio is loud enough, let me know. So we're talking about content. Hey, Alvin, thank you for joining. Content. Everybody says content is king. Have you guys heard that before? Content is king. So what are we doing for content? Are you guys doing just what you see somebody else doing? Is there someone in particular that you're modeling when it comes to content? I'm going to switch hands. Is there someone that you're modeling when it comes to content? Have you got some thoughts about how you want your content to go? And what's the difference between your content, the content that you put out, and the content that you would use if you were on someone else's radio show, someone else's broadcast, someone else's interview? Do you change your content at all? Do you change your strategy and technique? I'm just really curious about it because I think sometimes because there is such a low barrier, hey, Christopher Charles, welcome. Because there's such a low barrier, hey, Michael Leroy, anybody can start a Facebook Live. Okay, anybody can start a Facebook Live. Anybody can start their own channel, their own Periscope, so that's fantastic. That's a good thing because that means that everybody has a chance to be heard. Everybody's message has a chance to get out there. Everybody's story has a chance to be heard. And I think that's really important. Now, the other thing is, because it's such a low barrier, a lot of people are not professionally trained. And so they've got some little habits, some little tips that kind of don't help them a lot. And while most people are so focused on, hey Keith, nice to see you. So most people are so focused on, I don't want to say and I don't want to say ain't, I don't want to say but. I don't know if you've ever been like that. If you have, give me a thumbs up. So focused on the diction that they are forgetting about the content and how to do the content. And what do you say to be interesting? What's your point of view that's interesting? And I think that that's what people forget. I interview lots of people on Right Place TV show. I interview people all the time. And the one thing that I think people are so caught up in, and you can let me know if you agree, and they're so caught up in saying the words right, being in the right place, say, this diction, but they're not paying attention to the content. And so we get very surface content. And we get very Me Too stuff. I mean, you're saying the same things that everybody else is saying. And that's really, really tough. That's really tough. When you're saying the exact same thing as somebody else, there's no differentiation. So I'm really interested in what kind of content you guys put out, which of course you can give me some comments. Now, I can see you if you are live in my feed with Dr. Wright on my Facebook page. I can see that. But if you guys are listening from another group, you're in the Instant Star Maker group, or maybe you're in another place and you're watching this, I won't be able to see your comments. But you can try to comment and I can go from there. So what is, and you can just put the links in there straight up to your content, and what type of content do you like to have? A lot of people are into podcasts. Podcasts are huge right now. Podcasts are really, really great. They're sort of having a resurgence, really, that's cool too. A podcast is great. You have to have perfect diction. You want the sound to be very well done. You want everything to be very well done because they're just listening. And you want to spend a lot of time using very descriptive words. And so podcasts can be incredibly lucrative. A lot of you are doing podcasts and you're not making any money at it. So let me just back up and say, some people are being lucrative. Some people are being awfully lucrative and some people are not. So here's the deal. I don't know if you've thought about it, but if you're about to do a podcast, I really want to say, think about the content, think about what it is you want to offer, but also think about how this is going to make money. So you can make money with your podcast before you become super famous. A lot of people are waiting, well, when I get 1,000 listeners, or when I get 10,000 listeners. And I actually had a person say, I'm doing it now, but I'm going to wait until we grow our base to 100,000 people, and then I'm going to start monetizing it. I was like, okay, I'm not sure that that's the best way to do it, because you don't want to wait to monetize it. You want to be able to monetize it very, very early. Otherwise, it's going to take a lot of your personal money to get to that 100,000 viewers. I know some people that have some of the top podcasts in the nation, but they've spent a lot of time cultivating their tribe. They've spent a lot of the money up front to make sure that these podcasts are extremely pristine. They've spent a lot of money making sure that everything is really well done, and they are above normal. They are greater than average. Some people, I've heard, I think I heard George Fraser say this, that if we're just average, then we're mediocre. And that goes, especially in the area of media, especially in the area of whatever it is you're trying to do. If you're just average, you are going to be mediocre because everybody's doing the average. Nobody's doing the above average. What are you going up against? So if you're about to do a podcast, I would say, yes, work on that. Work on that. Hey, Barrington Ross, thank you for the thumbs up. Give me some more thumbs up. Let me know you're listening. If this is good to you, and also take a minute to share the button. I appreciate that greatly. That's how we grow this broadcast for sure. So take a minute to, number one, figure out your content. Number two, take a minute. Thank you for the thumbs up. Take a minute to figure out how am I making money from this? Are you using your podcast to help bring in leads for new clients? Are you using your podcast to sell other people's products and services? And if you just joined in, hey Sharon, good to see you. You are so on time with this live message. Well, thank you, Sharon. I appreciate that. Give me some thumbs up and share it out to your friends. So think about how are you going to monetize it. There's so many different ways to monetize a podcast. So if you're feeling that draw towards a podcast, and your tribe is very audio based, they really like to listen, then do it. Podcasts are kind of having a resurgence. So I don't blame people for wanting to have a podcast. I just say, hey, Cecilia, hey, my captain, D over D, baby, all day long, right? I got stuff to share with you. Cecilia and I, we need a straight up phone call catch up. Straight out phone call. You know my number. Okay, so, when it comes to that, but Cecilia's in real estate. And so, all of you guys that are in real estate, there's so many cool things that you guys can be doing. You can do podcasts that have video. You can be showing properties. You can become the unofficial mayor of your town. You can be doing so many great things, educating people just constantly. If I was in real estate, that's totally what I would be doing. It would be like a mini real estate show, and I would be showing houses online. I would be showing houses and maybe even owners if they wanted to be online. I would be showing all of that stuff. So be creative in what you're doing and don't do the same thing that everybody else is doing. And talking heads is okay, but don't be a talking head about a subject that really lends itself to a lot of great visuals. Thank you so much for the thumbs up, and thank you for sharing. Visuals make the difference. And so, podcasting is really, really hot right now. I would say go ahead and invest in getting a company to help you make the podcast sound delicious. Absolutely delicious. Because you can get it on iTunes, you can get it ranked, it can be all kinds of things. You could have a podcast that is a paid subscription podcast, especially if you're going deep into strategy and technique. Some of us like to teach. I like to teach. Let's just be honest. I like to teach. I will over teach. And, so having a podcast that is a paid podcast might be the way for you to go. Is it going to take longer for it to grow? Absolutely. If you're not really marketing it to your tribe the way you should. So there's all these different kinds of ways of going about it. So if you have a quick question, hey, Linda, how are you? Lydia. How are you? Thank you. You're so sweet. So this is it. So if I call your name, that means I can see your comment. Some of you are in rooms, I can't see your comment. But if you guys are doing some sort of content, please go ahead and put that in the feed. And then what do you consider content? What's content for you? If you're going to talk about something, if you're going to share, what is it that you're going to use? So just put a little bit of thought behind it, and make sure it's compelling. Make sure it's interesting. Let's see. Sharon says, just wrote my first book called True Synergy Works. I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on. So True Synergy Works. Leading within. And I'm talking about a podcast today. I didn't know what a podcast was. Okay, cool. So a podcast can be video or audio, and a podcast is sort of like a radio show, only it's digital, so that it's on the internet, so it's on people's phones. Everything you do should be phone ready. Let me just tell you guys, desktop is dropping like a rock. Did you guys know that? Hey, Barbara, good to see you. Thank you. Share it out with your friends who need some help on that. So podcasts can be video, podcasts can be audio, but the cool thing is that it's mobile, it's on demand. The people that are getting your podcast absolutely want to hear from you. That's what's really cool. They're not like in the radio in the car and I can't listen to anything else, so I'm listening to this, so this is what I hear. Podcast people subscribe. They're your tribe. They're your people. They want to hear what you have to say. And so that's why podcasts can be so delicious. And they can be a perfect way. Hey, David, how are you? Good to see you. They can be a perfect way for you to serve and sell your book. You can read, hey, Ann, how are you? Good to see you, too. You can actually go ahead and read some chapters of your book during a podcast. Give people a taste. People are like, I don't want to read my book. I want them to go buy it. Let me tell you, they can't get the gist of your book from you reading a couple of paragraphs or a couple of pages on a podcast. They just can't. They will want to get the book. It's a great way to get your book out there. And everybody always thinks I got to just interview people. Now, I love interviewing people, and that's my style. But everybody immediately thinks whatever kind of content I'm doing, I'm going to interview somebody or I'm just going to talk to the screen like a nut. You know, I'm gonna say some silly stuff, and come on, give me a thumbs up. You've seen it. I'm just gonna say some silly stuff, and I'm just gonna get all these people to nah. Let's do something original. Let's do something different. Nobody else can read your book like you. I mean, they could read your book. I could, you know, the one of the best and I think it's a top 5 podcast. If you guys are not listening to this, you should. Do you guys remember LeVar Burton and Reading Rainbow? Give me a thumbs up if you remember LeVar Burton. Hey, Draymond, good to see you. Do you remember LeVar Burton and Reading Rainbow? Hey, Yolanda, time for faux, baby, time for faux. I know it's hot, but we should still just hang out. I miss you too. I'm doing really well. Thank you. Okay. LeVar Burton is now doing an adult version of Reading Rainbow. I kid you not. This is like the best thing since sliced bread. Okay, he has a propensity towards sci-fi. I love sci-fi. If you guys know me, I love sci-fi. And he's reading stories to us on a podcast. I love that freaking podcast. And I have listened to it in bed going to sleep, like totally falling asleep, and had to like wake up, you know, the next day and actually listen to the story. So reading a book is not going to cut down any of your revenue. Interviewing is not the only thing you can do, and acting silly and crazy isn't the only thing you can do either. There's a lot of different things you can do. Some of you should be doing demos. Yeah? Who's thought about demos? And in real estate, you should be showing those houses. If you're a chef, you should be cooking. You shouldn't be sitting there talking about, well, you need to get these ingredients, and you need this, and you should be doing it and showing it to people. Showing the pots and pans you use. Showing the stove. Showing the technique. Yeah, give me some thumbs up. You should be the star of that. You should be the star of that. And so I want you guys to just think bigger, think wider, think entertainment. Yeah, think entertainment. What would be entertaining? Hey, Christine. Hey, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a little bit, huh? How are you? Good to see you guys. Doing this at 4 o'clock. I'm going to try the 4 o'clock hour. I did the lunch hour, and that was cool. That was awesome. But I'm going to try the 4 o'clock hour on Mondays. Go back to Media Monday being 4 o'clock. You let me know what you guys think. And on Tuesday nights, not nights, but Tuesdays at 4, that's when we'll do the crowdfunding Cash Tuesdays. We'll talk about fundraising. So for those of you that are on the broadcast, and you're looking for my crowdfunding stuff, I am going to do that tomorrow. Hello, Unica. Good to see you. Hi, Michael Turner. Hey. Good to see you too. So, that's what we're going to talk about. That's what we're doing. So we are talking about, if you just joined in, we are talking about the media, what you're doing. Please go ahead and put your media into the, okay, hey, Yolanda, I see your text message, so I will text you back and get back to that. We're talking about your media. What are you doing? Put it in the side so we can promote it. We can help, share with it. You guys, share with each other, watch each other's stuff. Please support each other. Give me some thumbs up on that. Tell me what you are doing. And that's what we're talking about, content. So content is still king. I give a lot of free content all the time. This is it. One of the decisions that I made is that when it came to webinars, my webinars in the future are going to be paid webinars because I give a lot of free content. Go to my YouTube channel. There's free content. My Facebook Live, there's free content. I'm teaching all the time because I really love that. That's my default. I love to teach. But all of us have to figure out what it is. How are you going to make money? And interviewing and commercials are not the only way to make money if you are on the podcast track. So if you're on the podcast track, definitely put your link in there so we can support your podcast. I can see it next week. I can give you a shout out and we can share with what you're doing. So anyway, if you have a question, dump it in there. If I don't see it, I'll answer it next week. But when it comes to monetization of your content and of your media, some of it is not always, hey, Gregory Brown, thank you for joining. Some of it is not always, I talked, and at the end of this talk, here's my stuff, go buy my stuff. It doesn't have to be that either. How many people, don't feel like that's the only thing that they want to do? Just, hey, I talked, now go buy my stuff. So you don't have to do that either, but you can make money with what you're doing. That's my whole point. If you're doing a lot of stuff and you're not making money, that's a challenge. So Sharon says, thunderclap, Facebook, Twitter, video production, and image posts. I'm getting on the podcast track. Thank you, Letitia Wright. Okay, great. Get on that podcast. Do your podcast, Sharon. Just get your plan for your money, okay? And, if it's about selling the books, then make sure it's really super easy for them to buy your book through the podcast. So I would kind of lean towards a video podcast rather than an audio podcast so that they can click and buy the book. If they're just listening to an audio, it's pretty difficult to get them over to okay, we're going to do here's the link, www.wrightplacetv.com/blah blah blah / blah 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 dash blah 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 dash 012. You know that nonsense. Give me a thumbs up if you have somebody do that and you're like, you know what? That's okay. I'm not going to get it right now. That happens all the time. So here's the thing. Make it super easy, Sharon, for them to get your book. If you do a video podcast, make sure it's out there. It's being syndicated on iTunes, Libsyn, Cloud. I think it's called Cloud. I forget what it's called. Cloud something. Make sure it's really, really easy for them to get the book from your podcast. That's one way to monetize it. And then there's some additional ways to monetize it. Now, interviews are the go-to. Hey, Kevin, good to see you. Kevin has his own business. I don't know if you're doing any podcasts or anything, but Kevin, we're putting our business and our podcast in the comments so people can support you. Let me know if you are doing a podcast. Back to podcasts and any kind of content. The thing is with podcasts is that figure out where you're making your money. It's not always interviews. It's not always commercials. It's just not always all of that stuff. It can be something different. And there's a really wide range of that. And of course, you can talk to me personally. You can hit me up personally if you want to really talk about your particular situation. But since Sharon she's volunteering. She's out there. She's giving her information. So guess what? She's getting fed. She's gonna get the details. So with the book, I think a podcast would be really great. I would name the podcast the same as the book so people can easily find it. I would have links on there so when they got to the podcast, boom, they could buy it. There's a way for them to very, very easily buy it. And if you have other guests, if you interview people, I would make sure that they're on my topic. So here's what I would do. I would have my book out, and I would interview people that I could solve their problems. In other words, I wouldn't have my book, I'm promoting my book, it's my podcast, and then I have Dr. Letitia Wright on as expert in X, Y, and Z. No, I would have people on that I could help them solve their problem because that gives you a chance, Sharon, to showcase your expertise. Is that good? If that's good, give me a thumbs up. You know that's good. It gives you a chance to showcase your expertise. So give me a thumbs up if maybe you're rethinking the whole, I got to interview people and have all these guests. Maybe that's not the deal. Maybe that's not it. Maybe it's something else. So think it through. Thanks for hanging with me. Media Mondays is going to be Mondays. I'm going to do it around 4 o'clock so I can get people after work and get people doing. The lunchtime thing was fun, but with all the travel and all the stuff I have to do, lunchtimes are getting really tough for me. I'm tending to be having working lunches and working through meetings with people. I don't know about you guys, but the second half of the year is going to be off the chain. So share this with your friends. If this was really good and really helpful, please click the little guy down there, the plus, the little man with the plus. Click him, share it out with your friends. I really, really appreciate you hanging with me on this. I will talk to you soon. Tomorrow, if you're interested in the crowdfunding stuff, I'll be talking about crowdfunding. And I have a little notice out there for you. I'm going to be doing a workshop here in LA on August 5th on crowdfunding. That's my next event coming up. And so I'll be putting some things out on social media. And if you're on the mailing list, you'll get that. So you guys have a great evening. Remember, ignoring one's conscience is neither safe nor right. And I will see you next time. Thank you.